Hi, yeah, this is Jason in Jason's Jungle. From my last video I had a few questions about the supports that I'm using to grow beans and cucumbers up. So I'm just going to go a quick once over on them and let you see how they look, how I put them together, and explain why I put them together. In the past I've grown beans up TPs, A-frames, V-frames, and always had a bit of a problem with some of them. A-frames and A-frames, I couldn't get under the long row to weed properly, so there were lots of weed in there, and the beans would hang down on the inside, making it harder to harvest. And I had a similar thing with the TPs. Or with the TPs I did start to put flagstones in the centre, which kept the weeds down, but you still had the beans falling down on the inside and still had some weeds. When I made the V-frames, you need a lot of canes to support them, otherwise they just blew over the wind. But it did solve the problem about the beans hanging on the inside, and it also meant I could get to the outsides and weed and even plant things in them. But I'm going to go over me Gallows supports and explain a bit about them. So this is the Gallows. I call it that because one of the neighbours said, why am I getting the Gallows? Is that to hang people nicking me food? It's a good idea, but I don't think I'm allowed to. I think it's against the contract for the plot. But as you can see, there's 4 arms coming down central shaft, and there's 4 feet as well. So I'll just come down and I'll go through them and show you what they're done. So the central column, this is an 8-foot fence post, 3x3 I think, and 1 foot of it goes down underneath here and into the ground. Fixed onto that are these 4 feet. Now they're held on with coach posts and with PVA glue, and what they do is when the wind blows they move the pivot point from the centre where the post is right out to the edges, which means that all the weight of the entire support in the beans or crop on it are behind the pivot point, which basically means it's less susceptible to being blown over. Now another thing about these is these feet are cut at 2 foot 1.5 inch, which may sound strange, but that means that the centre of the bed comes here. Yeah, so 1.5 inch to go back there to make sure it fixes onto the full width of this, and that means it takes up the entire bed virtually and just spreads it out a bit more. Now because these were cut from 2x4s I think, or 2x3s that were 8 foot long, that meant I have at the top the arms are actually 1 foot 10.5, and that helps to bring all the weight back in towards the centre again, so it would have to lean forward quite a bit to be able to just get over the pivot point, never mind become unbalanced. At the bottom here I've got eyes. Now this is for attaching, as you can see I've got last year's thread on here still. This is twine, this is twine, but I'm going to be moving over to paracord. I've done these individually, which took absolutely ages to do an entire thing because I've got to stretch and do a double length. So as you can see in the last video I'm now just threading it through, and that was a lot quicker. At the top I've got hooks. So these hooks basically let us put them in and unhook them easier, so I can just slide them off if I need to. Now I had thought about putting them on the side along here, and that would have meant I was going to put canes in. So an 8-foot cane would just go in through the hoop in the eye, and that would have been easy to swap out and put in at the time. But I decided to go for the last minute for this, for twine or cord, because this waggles in the wind, and that waggle in the wind takes some of the strength out of the wind, so there's less strength pushing the posts over. At least that's the one I think it does. And the beans climb up it okay, and it stretches a little bit. And what I could do, which I haven't bothered because it's tall enough, is if I was to put, say, an eye or hook on here, I could bring the strings along from these hooks down and have an excess hanging down, and then when beans get to the top, I could loosen that, let some more thread the cordage through, and have slightly longer. But then again, they're about 7 foot, and once I pinch them out at the top, it does give us a nice bushy plant. Okay, that's about it. As I said, you can see coach bolts all over the place, and also PVA glue just to help hold them in. Glue on, clamp them in position, and then I screw them in. Another thing is this spike at the bottom that goes into the ground. When the wind does blow, that pushes against the soil, so there's a lot more friction in there. Again, it's slowing down, reducing the chances of being blown over, because the wind would have to be a lot stronger. I mean, it could still get strong enough to blow them over, but that would blow anything over, including the greenhouse. But the idea is I don't want to keep rebuilding it, which I have in the past. Now, one question I was asked is, are they easy to transport? When I built them, I thought no. But it turns out all I had to do was get a fork in and loosen the soil. Didn't have to dig it up. Loosen the soil around the four sections, the four sides of the post, and then pull it straight up, move it across, and pop it into a hole that I've already dug. And probably the digging of the hole was the hardest work. Managed to do that single-handed. I had thought I'd need to get someone else to give us a hand, but I didn't need to. And they've transported across. Just fill the hole and squash it in, firm it down, and next job will be rethreading it and then getting the beans in. Okay, so that is these bean posts, or vertical posts, and it's quickie, so I hope it's been some use to you, and I'll let you go with that.